Okay. If you had to shoot a wedding with one lens, what would it be?
Hold on.
I
know. So what we're going to do is on the count of three,
okay,
we're both going to answer.
Okay.
Are you ready? You sure?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah. You would do the same thing?
Okay. No,
is that your answer or were you answering for me?
No, I was answering for me, but
okay.
Point of contention. So Christina. Welcome to CR Conversations, hosted by Ryan and Christina Palma of CR Photos.
We're professional photographers who survived the unpredictable and grueling path that took us from rudimentary dreamers to fully self-employed business owners. From sleepless nights of editing to daring leaps of faith when quitting 9-to-5 jobs, we kept pushing for the dream to become reality, and we did it together every step of the way.
Amazingly enough, our marriage also survived that journey.
In our 15 plus years in the industry, we've acquired a wealth of information that goes far beyond camera settings and marketing do's and don'ts.
We've also piled up countless stories, affectionately called Uncle Bob stories.
We'll be leaking those one episode at a time.
Don't worry, names and places have been changed to protect the guilty.
So welcome to CR Conversations. We hope you're ready to take a deep dive into life behind the lens and so much more.
Jumping into episode 6. This is a fun one.
Yeah?
Look forward to these.
What are these?
Your questions answered, part 2.
Oh, these are fun. Okay.
Thank you guys for even asking these questions. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, let's get right into it.
I'm going to start with one that's definitely for you.
Okay.
What is your editing strategy?
Well, it varies based on what I'm doing, but I'm going to start with what I do for weddings.
Write these things down.
I always like to have a preview for couples pretty soon after their wedding date. So I will go through and pick a few, right? The Monday after their wedding, get those edited and post them for them. But if we're talking here, how are we going to do a real wedding? After the importing, I do the organizing, putting them in folders that they belong, like the preparation, the ceremony, all that stuff. So it's not too overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then I'll go through and call everything then.
Calling means
that I'm going through and selecting the good photos for editing.
You delete?
I do not delete. This is where him and I don't agree. I just don't. I do not delete because you just never know. Yeah. I just keep everything. So yes, we have an exorbitant amount of storage because I don't delete anything, but I pick the ones we're going to edit, import into Lightroom, edit everything. And then I will, and when I say edit everything, that's a lot easier said than actually done.
I'm going to say this. We do have our disagreements. I wouldn't say disagreements. They're just different styles. Like if I was doing the editing, I just have a couple different things that I would do slightly different. However, I will say that Christina is a wizard when it comes to editing. She is so fast and so good at it. It's incredible. I mean, she talks about not being a machine, but sometimes I wonder. Sometimes
a machine, but edit all of them, then export to the online gallery and then move on to the next thing. So, whether I call an entire wedding or just a section of that wedding might vary, but that's the gist of everything.
Yeah. Some days you're just ready to just get in there and crush. Other days you're like, I can't sit any longer.
Right. Yeah. So that's a, condensed answer. So that's how we do.
Very good. Moving on. Number 2. What do you got?
All right. What do you have? What advice would you give a new photographer who really struggles with feeling like people are judging him while they're out at a shoot with other photographers around? Like I know I may be making mistakes with posing or lighting, but it freaks me out when other photographers are watching.
I got this one. All right. Okay. So I used to, and I think it was because I was so vain. I used to think when I was shooting a wedding that everybody was watching me. In my younger years, I think all of us are a little bit more like that. In my young 20s, I was like, I really thought people were like, oh, look at that photographer guy.
Yeah, I used to think that too. I thought everyone was watching us.
So I thought it in a vain way. You thought it like, oh, they're all staring at me. Yeah. Well, then you go to a couple other weddings and I'm like, I hardly even notice. I'm only looking at that photographer because I want to see if they do something that I wouldn't do. Yeah. You're not really, you're blending in.
Yeah. Even as a shooter, you're not paying attention.
Yeah. I mean, not to say that we're irrelevant, but you're not standing out like you think you are. Mm-hmm. Everybody is, they're focused on the bride and groom. They, in that case. Now there's other cases where you're like, they ask you're shooting at the same place somebody else is.
That's tough.
Personally, I always take it on as a challenge. Like I just think of, it's a healthy competition for me. Mm-hmm. Doesn't bother me. But I know some people will definitely, and I'll just say this, you should answer this too, because you probably have a different take on it. Being the person that says, I don't care. I kind of like having other people there. It's a fun challenge. I also try not to, by some weird way transmit like hey, I know what I'm doing better than you do, little photographer over there.
Yeah.
If I walk by somebody, I say, hey, good luck shooting today, stuff like that.
Yeah, I completely resonate with this because I don't feel comfortable shooting around any people, not even just other photographers. I prefer being alone with the client for two reasons. For myself, I don't have that feeling of somebody watching me. And then two, the client is a lot more comfortable when other people aren't, watching them. So I completely understand what you're talking about here. I definitely think of that
for the clients. Yep.
And I would just say be confident because even if there's other shooters around, nobody, and all the time, and I've shot around a lot of other people, I've never once watched another shooter to see what they're doing. I've been like, okay, are they done in that spot? I want to go over there. Or am I in their shot? I've never, ever watched a photographer to be like, what are they doing? That's so dumb. So you might be overthinking it. That might be the long and short of the answer.
No, I think that's a great answer. I really think people are just in their lanes. They're doing what they got to do. They're there to work for the customer or whatever. They're not really thinking about you or seeing you.
Right. For sure. All right. Number 3.
Yeah. Number 3, how to get out there as a new second shooter. It seems like main shooters don't really want new photographers on a busy, crazy wedding day, which I understand because a new photographer wouldn't really know what they're doing. Can we answer this question? I don't know.
I know this is one that maybe not be best for us because we always shoot together. We've literally never had to deal with this before. I resonate with your, where you're coming from, but I think maybe doing it more as second shooting, not on a wedding day. Hey, can I go with you on an engagement session? Hey, can I go with you for a family session to build up that photographer's trust in you and for you to feel more confident? Like maybe, get a few more sessions with that person you want to shoot under your belt so you both feel a little bit more confident. Even just in the way you communicate is a big thing. That might be the place to start instead of just diving right into the weddings to build that relationship.
Full transparency, I'm sure I would take somebody on as a second shooter far quicker than you would.
Yeah.
Like I said, people do ask us like, hey, can I come shadow you on a shoot? In my mind, I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem. But then I know Christina's going to be like, nope. You got to focus on your shooting and stuff like that. On a wedding day. But okay. So I'm going to just say right now, can I take somebody on
I actually just told somebody recently in the last couple of weeks, hey, next time I have a family shoot, I'll text you and come with me.
Get out of here.
I did.
Good for you. I've got somebody that wants to come out to an engagement shoot with me. So.
Yeah. So I think the smaller shoots, I think whoever you're trying to shoot with, that
We're learning so much about each other.
That will build their confidence in you and you can go from there.
Okay. Drink some water while I will ask number 4. I use low-level basic equipment that I feel isn't good quality at all. My camera is not good with sharp focus and is horrible in low-light situations. Should I be charging as a new photographer, even though I know the photos are not as good quality as I want? And this is because they say I can't afford new gear.
This is very tough, but guess what? Every single photographer has been in the exact same place you are. So be encouraged.
Yep. I look at stuff like from 15 years ago that I did shoot with, and I'm like, that camera was pretty good. That was doing some good stuff. I mean, it's not like Ansel Adams' photos have like lost quality over all these years. Like it really, main thing comes down to the person behind the camera. Yeah.
But it is hard to like nuance that because in a day and age where your iPhone can take a remarkable quality photo, and here you are with quote unquote, the professional, and your photographers aren't clear like that.
Yeah.
That is tough. And the question really is, should I be charging? Well, you can be charging, but you're not going to be charging what somebody with higher equipment, more knowledge on that is going to be charging.
It basically comes down to like, can you guarantee you are going to deliver? So you can shoot with a lower end camera or something that we've dealt with this many times over our years where we've had a camera and we've probably been using it longer than it was made for because we can't afford to get a new one. And it's not always shooting.
It's not consistent.
Yep. So you think you can deliver each time you go out to shoot, or is it going to be like, I might get a good shoot out of this, I might not, I might be able to deliver 30 good photos, I might not. If you are, you just got to take those things into consideration when you determine, like, are you charging? And you got to charge. You can charge,
yes.
You got to charge.
The short answer is yes, you should be charging if you are going in delivering a service for somebody. What you should be charging may be the better question. You can't go out there and charge as if you're going to, deliver something that even by your own admission is not what people are thinking they might be getting. So,
yeah. And a word of encouragement. We've all been there. Yes. We have literally within the past few years had to deal with a camera, as you will go to the shoot with a awesome number one camera. And then you got that backup camera and you're like, man, this thing ain't as great. It's almost like when you get a new prescription of glasses and you put those on, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm seeing clear now. Well, we've gotten a couple new cameras in the last year, and
the big jump from DSLR to mirrorless is
oh my goodness!
Crazy.
When you get out there and you start shooting, and you're like, every single one is in focus. It's fun when you're there. Yes. So yeah, we're with you. We've been there.
Hang in there. Yes, you should be charging. Just
hey, how are you going to get a new camera if you don't charge?
Exactly.
Number 5, I'm going to ask this one. This kind of ties into number 1, the first question, and it's related to editing. So I'm going back to you again. I know what editing style I want, but I can't seem to get where I need to be. What do you recommend to do?
Practice makes perfect. That'd be the first thing. Just continually working on your editing, developing your eye, go through old photos, re-import them, re-edit them, just consistent practice, and then editing with different lighting situations. So that's where you can really develop your skills, is knowing how to edit to your style in all different lighting situations.
Yeah, and I'm going to say kudos to the asker of this question, because they are not taking the lazy approach. They're actually going towards something. They're trying to create something that is them. And,
I agree.
Yeah, great job.
All right, number 6. How do you go about finding good locations? Do you just drive around to random places, parks, fields?
I'm going to take this one because I'm an explorer.
Yeah.
I do go everywhere and I look around and I'm like, hey, that would be a good spot. In fact, and I need to follow through with this, I saw a field of birch trees. Beautiful field of birch trees.
Don't give away location.
Yeah, won't give
locations are guarded secrets in this industry. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, sorry. That's just the honest truth. But we shoot in a lot of places where a lot of other people shoot too. So when we do find something that's like, hey, this is unique. So anyways, I've seen this thing just driving around. I need to reach out to the owner of that place and ask them if I could use that. And I'm 50-50 chance they're going to say yes.
But yeah, I would agree. Driving around, keeping your eyes peeled, there's stuff all over the place you may not be familiar with. Search obviously your area, what's close to you, but I wouldn't just pop to every single major big park just because, that's where it is. There's a lot of hidden gems around.
Yeah.
Always have your eyes peeled.
Yeah. If you are in the industry, you're always going to be looking. It's a curse. You're going to be driving around and you're gonna be like, hey, look at that spot.
Yeah. All right. Number 7, what do photographers do wrong nowadays? Oh boy, that is such a big question.
Yeah, that is. Because I'm sure we are in that grouping. What do we do wrong? What do we photographers do wrong?
Well, there's a lot of things I think that we can do wrong. We can assume that we're way better than we are.
Yeah, I was going to say, think we're a know-it-all.
Yeah, you can get a little haughty and a little elitist. And
too big for your britches.
They charge incorrectly. Oh, I think that's a big one. Yeah. Sometimes people think, oh, I'm this and this is how much my equipment is and this is how much my time is worth. And they're, I'm going to say it again, living in podunk, America. And
now you're just throwing all of America. You're like Hillary Clinton in the 2020 election, 16 election.
I would never say deplorables. Anyhow, not knowing your demographic in your area and pricing yourself way above that. This is just a quick example. I used to frequent a hairstylist long time ago who, for whatever reason, just all of a sudden was like, I think she thought she was in New York City or California and like tripled her prices. And I was like, okay, see ya. Just her prices went from being like normal. And yeah, you raise your prices. Of course you do. But you need to know your demographic. We're not in New York City. You're not in California. You're not. So that I think is something that I'm seeing more frequently. Prices, people thinking a lot more than they are.
Mm-hmm. I was going to go back to your word is your bond as well. you've got to deliver on your promises. You say you're going to be at somewhere at a certain time. You got to show up there. You say you are going to be delivering photos in a certain a time allotment. You got to deliver. And if you cannot do those things, you are going to get known for that. People are going to, word of mouth is a powerful thing.
Good and bad.
Exactly. So those are kind of things that good old fashioned,
professionalism goes a long way.
My word is, is good. My handshake that's a guarantee. That sort of thing needs to come back in. It's as important now as it ever was. You know
what? I thought of another thing too. And this is very difficult. We even struggle. Photographers are spending way too much time creating social media content and not investing in their clients. Just going to leave it there.
All right. We've had a grouping of questions that are kind of your questions. And here comes another one. Hopefully the last handful of questions will be more for me because everybody wants to hear me talk. Naturally. All right. So this is for you. Back to you. Do you sell your presets? Because they're asking, because I guess they love your editing.
Okay. I did start.
Hey, I'll also say I love your editing.
Thanks, babe. I did start screenshotting the amount of times this question gets asked in our DMs and put it in a folder so I can one day put it all over the place. The answer is no. And why is that? Because first of all, it's a preset that I have developed over years and put painstaking time, love, and effort into creating our own look and style. And that is ours. And I know people, make presets and sell them all the time and all that stuff. But my word of advice to you is develop your own style and presets. Everybody can go, anybody and everybody can go buy the latest trending preset and it's going to be out of touch and out of style in X amount of months. And you're going to have to rebrand yourself and do all that stuff. Or you could learn Lightroom. You can learn how to create. You can learn how to control and manipulate. And you can learn how
control and manipulate. I've never heard that so positively said.
You can learn the programs, learn how these things happen in photos. You can learn tint, you can learn light balance, you can learn shadows, you can learn curve and become a better shooter because of it, and then create something original instead of copying somebody else. So no, they're not for sale.
And that's for your own good.
Okay.
Please
Next
be for Ryan.
question.
Please be for Ryan.
Let's see. Number 9. A lot of the podcast is telling people what not to do and steering clients into somewhat of a mold. Would love to hear more what to do instead of what not to do.
I think that's actually a good point. Well taken.
Yeah.
Something.
I feel like in the back of my mind right away, I'm like, well, I got a little bit scared because I told people what to do on TikTok and they came for me. So I'm afraid to be like, you should do this on your wedding day. Because I got so many comments it's my wedding day and I'll do whatever I want. So, but we hear your request and we shall do our best to incorporate that.
And within that, I'll say, hey, this is the way we do business, and people do come for us. People do come to us for that reason. So if you're looking for somebody that is a lot more free flowing, that's just not us, and that's completely fine. And so I'm not saying we're not going to take that into consideration. We 100% will. And it is something and that is part of, as you grow in the industry, you start to develop systems, and then you get more rigid. So point taken. We'll be careful of that. But
I also think it's a lot easier for us
said than done.
Based on our experience of all the things. We have so many things that stick in our mind that, you shouldn't do this because we have experienced it being bad. And we just need to be there are so many beautiful things that we can encourage you to do.
I've got one more thing to say along those lines of why we are kind of the way we are. We get feedback all the time from wedding venue coordinators, from DJs about photographers that had kept the bride and groom or the bridal party out and away from, they're out there shooting at a certain time when the entire reception, all the guests are waiting for dinner to get started for a half an hour. And they're just don't really care about the timeline of the day.
Yeah.
And so we hear that from them, and they don't like working with those photographers, and we don't want to be that person. We get a lot of referrals. We get a lot of weddings just based off our relationship with other
vendors.
Vendors. So it kind of comes out of that as well. Why we stick to our guns when we're hey, this is what works.
But again, there are tons of wonderful, beautiful things. And actually it ties into the next question. So we'll go right into it. What's one traditional wedding thing that you do really still like?
Vows.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
wow, you didn't think about that at all.
They can't get rid of that. I love vows. I love personal vows.
Yes, I like those, and I do like them when they're shared in private because they're oftentimes more intimate. Private,
but we get to hear them.
Right. Yeah, I meant like at a first look, not in front of the whole ceremony. I mean, right off the top of my head, I still love, the first dances and stuff. Those are always really sweet. Some father and daughter dances. Yeah. Especially as our daughter gets older. I'm like, oh my word. But that's beautiful. I still do love a lot of traditional things, just little things like holding bouquets, there's certain things
something borrowed, something blue.
Yeah. Those little tiny things. Those are really awesome. I love that there is a traditional flow to a wedding. You get married, you have a reception, and that's changed a little bit, you do first look and stuff, but just the traditions that we have here in America are pretty cool. And it's nice to have that predictability as a wedding shooter.
You know what tradition I really, really like? The desserts. I love that there are desserts at every wedding. Okay. And if they're not, I'm done. I'm out.
Ryan is always leaving a wedding with a handful of desserts. He has he's our mule. He's got all the bags and he's got room for some desserts.
There's always room for desserts.
There's always room for dessert.
So please do not get rid of that tradition.
Okay. Let's see. Number 11.
Not that anybody's counting. Where do you get all your wedding clothes? If they were asking me, I get them from Christina. Well, I don't physically. She picks them out for me. Yeah.
Oh man, my wedding clothes. Well, 90% of the time I'm rocking a romper because you have to look professional and you have to be able to bend over and do all the things without, giving everyone a show. You know what? This is a good time to bring this up. In all the years, I've had 2 different people ask about what I would be wearing at a wedding day. And by people, I mean like clients. One guy was like, I hate to be rude, but you guys are going to dress professionally, correct? And I was like, of course. Why would you? And he then explained how a wedding he was just in, the photographer had purple hair, according to him, and was dressed pretty inappropriately where every time she bent over, it was very revealing. And that was a big concern of the grooms. He was like, I feel terrible even saying this. I don't want to be chauvinistic, and I was like, of course, I just I would never expect to dress anyway besides professionally. So I keep that in mind when shooting weddings, that conversation lives in my mind.
They did ask about I think the nature of the cue clothes, but that is a great point. And it's funny because just what is professional in 2024 versus 2010, 12, 14, very different. Completely different. And if you go even further back, our forefather photographers were wearing, tuxedos and suits to weddings. And oh my goodness, I am so thankful that we are not doing that today. However, I think we dress to not stand out. Yep. Obviously, Christina stands out every wedding that she goes to. Girls are like, hey, where'd you get that? Not me, which is fine, which means you're not doing your job well enough with me because you do pick out all my clothes too. However,
where is this going?
Yeah, where is this going? Back to the point though, she gets a lot of stuff at Zara. And
the fact that he knows that. Okay.
But really back to the higher point is, you're dressing to, fit in, not stand out, but
not look bummy. There have been a few times where people have come up as vendors to a wedding and I'm like, oh boy. Yeah. So we try to be professional. And sometimes that does change based on the location we're shooting to. If we know for sure we're going to be in a church wedding and then the reception is a little more it's a black tie, I will dress up even more. If we're doing a barn wedding, I might be a little bit more casual. So it varies, but the majority of places that I get all my clothes, my rompers, my things, is I do get some stuff on Zara. I do, but a lot of it is just online boutiques. And if you really want to know what they are, send me a DM and I will give you all of those boutiques.
All right, you got the next one.
Okay, the next one is current trends in the wedding world that you love.
All right, there's this new one, and it is the brides honoring their mom.
I do love that. I wish it was wrong when we got married.
Yeah, so the reason for it is the bride dances with the dad, the groom dances with the mom. there's not really a significant moment. There is significant moments. Obviously, the mothers are there for getting the girl, the bride dressed and all that.
But like a
stuff.
formal moment.
Yeah.
For
So
just the mom.
recently there's been, we've seen a couple times now. It's like the bride gives the mother the bouquet. You can do whatever you want there.
Yeah, that's very sweet.
But they're actually taking time to
honor mom.
Yeah, honor mom.
And it's really, really sweet. I agree. I do like that. It happened a few times last year.
Yeah. Can you think of any others?
I really love the wedding party coming out together.
Oh yeah.
That is a newer thing last 2-3 years. And I really love that. I think it's a really fun way to start your wedding.
We talked about it in the last, one of the other podcasts, and man, oh man, every time I think about it, I will always think of the very first time we saw it, and it was electric. So good.
Yeah. I love that.
It was awesome.
Another thing that's kind of trending, and I know it was more major last year, and Ryan's going to be like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I am all for the pearls on the veils, like all that stuff. I know it's a trend. It's going to go out just as soon as it came in, but I think it's really pretty. I love that.
No, pearls are classic. I'm in it.
Yeah. Those are some of our favorites. Okay. We only have 2 more. So if you had to shoot a wedding with one lens, what would it be?
Hold on. I know. So what we're going to do is on the count of 3, we're both going to answer.
Okay.
Are you ready? You sure?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3, 35 millimeter. Yeah.
You would do the same thing?
Okay. No,
is that your answer, or were you answering for me?
No, I was answering for me, but point of contention. So Christina, I put Christina at the forefront.
Oh, brother.
When we shoot, she is numero uno when we're doing weddings. Ooh, okay. Hold on.
We're going to get an argument right here.
No, not an argument. We have our rules in shooting. I will be at the front of the aisle shooting. We divide and conquer. I get the boys, she get the girls. A lot of the details, we share in that a little bit, but she does that more. I do, group reception stuff. I go out and socialize. And then probably the reception, I take a bigger role as well. But however, when it comes to like our lenses and our best lens and our best setup, Christina pretty much takes whatever we have the newest and greatest in. Okay. So there was a lot of time, many, many years where Christina had great stuff and I had stuff, as we were, fighting through growing and stuff that was, past its prime. And that 35 mil, oh my goodness, when they talk about like, if you want your photos to be more intimate, get closer. Yeah. Tough for a guy to get closer when the shooter in front of him is on a 35 millimeter and so he's explaining that, yes, I pretty much always have that 35 millimeter. And if we're shooting together, it's very difficult for him to also shoot at the same time when I have the 35 millimeter, because my body's physically closer to the clients. And he's like, nice head all the time. Yeah. So it's the nice back of your head. Yeah. And it also doesn't make sense to both be shooting with a 35 millimeter at the same time, because you're getting the same look. We do, our styles, although differently, have blended into similarities. So I'll shoot with like an 85 millimeter wide. She's got the 35 or a 50. But I love me the 35 millimeter. It's versatile. Although I have grown to love the 50 as well. But that's only because, man, that baby's a 1.2. It's pretty awesome. But for sure, if I had to pick one, it's a 35. All right, last ones. What cameras and lenses do you have? Okay, inventory. This would be fun. We started with the D200 out of commission. We had the D4, which is the flagship camera of Nikon. When we just started our business 12, 13 years ago, that is also on the shelves. D850 was the next one. We're just doing cameras right now. Yep. The D850 is still working for us. That thing was awesome. But did we get the D800 before? We got the D800 first. So the D800 is in the backup bag. It was crazy about the D800 is that is what, 32 megapixels? Oh my gosh, the file size is obnoxiously large. It was during Pixel War era. Oh gosh, stuff that doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, it matters, but it does not matter that much. I mean, you'd be printing off a billboard on the side of, your local highway. So that one goes in the backup bag. Well, the D800 is really not even, we hardly ever use that one. Right, it's in the backup bag. Backup bag, yeah. Okay, so the D850 actually is still in we use it a little bit at each wedding, only pretty much maybe during the ceremony. Yeah, that's the last of the regular DSLRs that's in there. And now we have the Z8. Z9 we got first, and then we got the Z8. So the Z9 is the flagship. That thing is awesome. Yep. And then we have the Z8. 2 mirrorless, and really They're costly, guys. The Z9 is in the shop right now,
Yeah.
and just getting those things worked on is pricey.
Yeah. So that's what we have camera wise. In terms of lenses, we have what is referred to as the Holy Trinity
Of lenses.
Which is the wide angle.
Which is 14 to 24, fixed 2.8 constant, then 24 to 70. So you got 14 to 24, 24 to 70, and then 70 to 200. So you have like the full gamut of wide angle to zoomed in and all. Which,
maybe a question people have is, well, when do you actually use all those lenses? Ceremonies in the church, always long lens. Long lens doesn't get used frequently, but when we need it, we need it.
Yeah, they're utility lenses. And before, at one point, it was like, this is what you need to have a complete kit, or that was the thought sort of thing. But really what we love to shoot with is
a prime. I in more recent years, actually, I've used a 24 to 70 a little bit more, especially in the studio. Or if you're in a tight spot on a wedding day. So I actually do keep that in my camera bag all the time. But like we said, the 35 millimeter, which is a prime, we actually have two of those. We have a 50 millimeter, we have an 85 millimeter, and we have a 58 millimeter. So we have 4 to 5 different prime lenses, and that is 90% of the time what will be on our cameras.
Any others that we're not thinking of? I think that covers them. Yeah, but we are lovers of prime lenses. That is for sure. There's just something about them. Yeah, they're the bokeh. Everybody, this is crazy. This is the first time we've mentioned bokeh.
Bokeh is the blurriness that you see behind in a photo. If you have lights in the background, area. For sure, there might be like little circles, like bubble lights, but it is that creamy, wonderful goodness that you get behind really the subject area.
That's where, people fight which lens is better. Obviously what's in focus is very, very important, but they'll also be like, this has the greatest bokeh,
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing with the prime lenses is they are fabulous storytelling lenses. You can create a story with where you're placing the focus and the aperture and the creaminess and the bokeh and all of that so much easier than with, those other lenses where you're zooming and stuff. So
those other ones are really kind of utilitarian or.
Yeah, they're just utility things you have on your belt when you need them. But when we need them, we need them, but we prefer those prime lenses.
Okay, so. This isn't a question, but if we had another lens right now, what would you get?
35 1.2 for the Z lens.
Yeah, it'd be tough not to get that.
Yeah, but they're a little bit behind on making them. They don't have them.
This is one that's always on like the second tier of what I think is, of what I would like to have, but it's always like there's always another lens that seems to be more important than it. I'd like to get a 24 millimeter prime.
Yeah, but they don't make them. That's I would love to. I would love a 24 to 70. Actually, no, they
just
do.
A 24
okay.
Millimeter.
Yeah, you're right. No, but we rented that one time and I was not the biggest fan. That's the one I took with me to Colorado and I was like, it's too close. I would love
But I think you were using it for what you were using that for portraits, which I think it's more
I did like a family session.
Yeah. But I'm thinking it's more for what we actually would be guilty of not doing as well is wide open shots.
Yeah. I guess I would, if there could be such a thing, I would love a 24 to 70 1.4.
Oh, but you're dreaming.
That would be the greatest. All right. You don't really care about all that technical stuff as much, but hey, those are some good questions today. Thank you for sending those in, guys. I'm sure there will be a part 3 in the next, couple months as those continue to come in, but always fun and less stressful for us to do these type of, podcasts because we're just, talking with you guys.
Hey, and I'm just going to ask it again. We asked it in the last episode. We are trying to decide on a photographer.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a photographer from Rochester.
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to say it the proper way.
Yeah, but who cares if people don't mind it?
Okay, but the thing is, there's different ways you could say that word because if you say it phonetically, it's photographer. So do you want me to say photographer or photographer or photographer or photographer?
All right, guys, the photographer signing out over here. Thank you again for listening, but we do want to know your answers. So let us know what you think about us photographers.
All right,
Should
guys.
we be photographers or photographers?
See you next time.
We hope today's episode was insightful. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review, as this helps others find us. If you have any questions or comments on topics you'd like to hear us unpack, please send those to podcast@crphotos.org. Lastly, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, where we can be found at C_R_conversations, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a post.